2 years ago, it was cool to be a drop shipper and an e-com guy. I think it's cool to be a lead gen guy now. If I was a media buyer, I'd be scared shitless. I think a media buyer's job gets replaced by AI very, very, very quickly. It's forced me to be a better marketer, a better entrepreneur, because this is not an option for me. And I made it a rule for myself that the success equal growth.
All right, guys, so we're here again with Anthony Sarandria in Vegas this time in person. Thank you for joining me,
Dude,
man.
thanks for having me, brother. Always good to see you.
Yeah, you're coming out of a hiatus,
Yes.
more or less, from being in the affiliate space.
Yes.
What led us to where you are today?
Oh my gosh. Let's see. Where's you want me to start from the beginning?
Yeah.
All the way through?
Yeah.
Dude, back in the day, ran a just internet marketing agency, so fee for hire, which is great. A couple grand a month to run someone's Facebook, Google ads, whatever it was.
And what year was this?
2000. I think I started that in 2013, 12 or 13-ish is when that started. Did that until 2017, I want to say, where hired my family and friends and just had like a badass lifestyle business. I remember sitting down with a mentor and he's like, I was like, hey, hit me hard. Like what? Like I want to grow beyond this. And at the time, I mean, I was probably doing, I'm making up numbers here now, 600,000-700,000 EBITDA. Like it was a good business, lifestyle business and reoccurring contracts. And he's like, you have a loser model. And I was like, first you're like, oh, that hurts. You're like, tell me more though, as you're like trying to like, what? And he's like, you're trading, time for money. You're not, you essentially need to productize the service. And niche down, by the way. And I kind of sat with that. And, it's one of those things that, I don't know if you've ever gotten good advice and like, after you implement it, you're like, oh, for a full year, like I heard it, but I didn't listen to it. Like,
All
it
the
took
time.
like a year of like, I was like, he's right, but I didn't implement it. And I'm like, I mean, finally like discovered this thing called lead gen and pay-per call. And I remember going on like Offer Vault and sorting by the highest paying offers. And I remember it was like addiction and then debt settlement. And so I was like, okay, like this is productizing, you're selling leads. This is exactly like that mentor said, productize it. So started in both of those. Addiction was a flop, and then debt, like spent $50, turned to 100 to 200, and just kind of started.
It just worked.
It just worked, and it was amazing. And a lot of credit to my partner at the time too. He was phenomenal and foresightful at it, and we grew that very rapidly and started siphoning off my team members that worked for me from the agency over to the lead gen business. As this thing started going like this thing kind of stayed stagnant until I think there's a good lesson in that too, like not throwing, I don't know what the right terms, like don't quit your day job, but I had something working and I saw something that was like this shiny object. I think a lot of times people go, okay, see ya, this is exciting. I feel really good. It took me like almost 2 years and I was almost doubling the profit over here before ever even shutting this down.
But that was making good money too.
This was making good money, but at the same time, this was going like this, and this was a pain in my ass. Like this is like clients call me on a Saturday night, like, why am I not ranking #1 on Google and this and this? So it would have been very easy in hindsight to have been like, okay, this is like close to this. Let me just turn this shit off. This sucks. And I'm really proud about that transition period where, some could argue maybe this would have grown faster if you moved all resources and time and energy over here. But I am really proud about the cadence of like not quitting my day job, for lack of better words, over here while this.
But you had a badass self-employed day job.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So anyway, dude, I'm trying to. We went from like I want to say first year was like same thing, like 700-800 EBITDA, then like 1.6, like 4 something. Then COVID came, and our debt settlement business essentially shut down overnight, and. Because they were, you're familiar with this too. They were buying on like an 18 to 24 month LTV, and when COVID came, you're talking about unsecured debt, and consumers were like,
People couldn't make payments.
or they just were like, I don't know if the world's ending. I don't care. I'm not going to make payments here. So now they had underwritten a 18 to 24 month LTV, and it was really a 3-month LTV on some of these, and they were paying us 6
Based
months on a 18 to 24.
Was there like clawbacks and
Zero clawbacks, but they were done, which, I didn't even realize that was a good thing. At the time, I was kind of like, oh my God, they're done buying for me, but I should have been happy they weren't clawing anything back. But they basically were like, hey, we're trying to retain our book. We're not trying to grow it right now. So half my business died, like legitimately in a phone call overnight. And I remember hearing, actually funny, we're in Vegas. I remember hearing a Steve Wynn during the Great Recession say all the other hotels were laying people off and he called in his entire staff, like however many thousands of people, and they had a conference or a meet or whatever. And he gave away, I think like 30 cars to top management, just gave them away. And not everyone got a car, but they got the idea in his message, like, we're leaning in, your job is safe, we're gonna double down, and we're gonna take market share from everyone who's subtracting at this time. And I remember that, I'm like in the chills as I hear that, because like what balls that takes and what fucking, like, what a leader that is, right? To do that while everybody else is, because he knew his team, thousands of people were worried about their jobs. And he made it very clear that day, you don't have to worry about your jobs. We're gonna be okay. And he did that, and then that's when he launched Encore Beach Club and all these other, and really my understanding is like started to revolutionize like day clubs and grew revenue and profit that way. And so I took a page out of his book. I called my team on a conference call. I didn't give away a car, but I said, hey, letting you know your job's safe. Nobody's salary's being cut. I don't care if I'm gonna dip into my savings all the way down to zero. Like, you're safe. Let's double down. Let's figure this shit out. And that's what we did. And we launched auto insurance, ACA health insurance for like 30 seconds, Medicare insurance, and all three were kind of putzing a tiny bit. ACA was really hard to make it work compliantly, so we shut that.
So debt was still pushing.
That was dead.
Oh,
that was dead. The only thing that was running for me at the time was credit repair. Was through Lexington Law Firm. So, and actually, believe it or not, stimulus checks came.
And that was other half of the business that's
other half, and to the graces of the big man upstairs, the stimulus checks came, and people were actually buying credit repair product because they wanted to get 1%, financing on their home or refinance.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that started to grow. But really, I remember a buddy telling me that Medicare, he's like, wait for October, this thing's gonna pop. And I'm like, $2-3 grand a day, whatever. And then all of a sudden, first day, second day, third, and it did, and he was right. And we're, the second open enrollment shot up, and Medicare was just.
It was 2021?
2020.
2020.
2020, end of 2020, and Medicare just started going bananas for us. And this is when it was like a far less saturated space.
More affiliates ruin everything.
No CMS. We were still compliant by the buyers, but overall, like, less regulation. I think that's an important topic. I'm sure we'll get into. But went nuts and started being way bigger than my business ever was, and we grew that to 8 figures EBITDA in about a year, less than a year. And
what was your biggest day in Medicare at the peak?
Oh my gosh, I don't want to make up numbers, but I think we had a day where we did like over 200 grand, like something like that. And it was like, I want to say like 70, 80 grand profit. It was awesome, dude.
That's wild.
It was great, really. And the cool thing is too, is like we only had like, I think like 4 or 5 customers as well. And they're all publicly traded. They were big. And we had great relationships with them, which I'm sure we'll talk about here too. But overall, to catch you up, I remember doing a Tony Robbins event, and he has really got this lesson around proximity's power. Being around people that are successful can make you successful, make or break you, right? It's your network, it's your net worth, right? Like same comment. And he's on a jet with the richest guy in Canada, and he's talking to him, and he goes, "You know what, Tony?" He goes, "You know what made me so successful was I'm going to give you one piece of advice. You need to meet with investment bankers." And he tells the story. He's like, writes it down, investment bankers. That next year, they do an annual trip. He meets with 5, 6 of them. He comes back and he goes, "How'd it go? Did you meet with the investment bankers?" Goes, "Yeah, I had like 6 or 7 meetings." He goes, 6 or 7 meetings? He goes, "I told you this was the best thing that has made me successful, and you only fucking had 6 or 7 meetings?" He goes, "What the hell's wrong with you?" I was like, okay, sorry. So anyway, long story short, he tells this whole story where he ends up really doubling down on that idea, goes to, has to merge a company with AOL at the time and someone else, and get stock in the company. He said overnight when, this is around the dot-com bubble, AOL went public, he made like $300 million in one day. He said he's going on stage, and he made $300 million in one day for coming out with no capital, merging these 2 companies correctly through, he's great at psychology, things like that, culture merge and all this. They paid him in stock, like I said. And he's like, yeah, that, and proximity is power. And so I wrote it down. I said, I don't know what the fucking investment banker is, but I'm gonna listen to that, right? So next thing you know, I hit up a few friends after Googling what it is and get in touch with a few, and they're basically commission-only salespeople. It's like a real estate agent for your business. So he puts me in touch with a few of them. I keep a couple buddies. I have a few calls. First guy goes, "Hey, your business is a lifestyle business. It's great. Congrats. Awesome, but you can't sell this thing." Next guy goes, you're on a rocket ship, man. You're selling it too soon, which I think was a nice way of saying, I'm not going to take this thing on. Because they're commission only, right? Yeah. So they're only going to sell it. Third company goes, we'll take it on. I go, how much are you going to charge? Like thinking, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars? So we'll charge like 2% of the sale price. I go, great, perfect, let's do it. So I'm not kidding, John, for almost a year, I thought I was getting a free education. I'm like laughing. I'm like, this is hilarious. Like I'm putting in my time, but this isn't costing me anything to get a free education on how to take your company to market. And next thing you know, they line up, 75, 100 potential buyer Zooms, turns into, I think we had 3 offers on the business, turns into best and final bid. And then you go through the beautiful thing of due diligence with the public company. And now they were great. But it's a proctoral exam for sure. So they're, why did you order ramen at the Chinese place?
Because it's delicious.
You're like, oh man. So it was a process, and dude, the deal finalized April 1st of 2022, April Fool's Day, literally. Money hit my account. It's so funny. And then I spent about a year and a half, 2 years chasing a bit of an earnout, and honestly, dude, when everybody asked like, how did it feel when it closed? I was so excited for the access I knew I'd get. And I mean that in a couple ways. I mean, one is, obviously money is exciting too, but first off, I was gonna go work, and I did, for a company that was a publicly traded, multi-billion-dollar market cap company, and I was gonna get a back seat to see how they run their company. And I was so excited about that. Within a lead gen business that does hundreds of millions of dollars a year, that's public. And get to have, the founder on speed dial to ask him questions, things like that. So I went back to student mode. I said, I'm not here bigger than my britches. I'm here to take notes. I'm here to learn. I'm a student here. And I was, and I very much, I think, absorbed a ton of great life lessons and business lessons from them over there. And
how much time were you spending with them?
It was a full-time job. I was there full-time. Yeah, I was there full-time, and it was
where was it?
It was at Media Alpha, was the name of the company.
Okay.
Remote. We were there. They're based out of LA. We're in Scottsdale, so it was super easy.
Yeah.
Same time zone most of the time, which was great. And gosh, what a tremendous business they run. And again, I got to be a student. And let's see, I'm losing my train of thought a bit. But just access. I knew once that company sold, I would be able to get meetings and conversations with people that I wouldn't otherwise be able to, whether it's on the investment side of things or business side of things or just life learnings or lessons. And man, I've had just incredible mentors over the last 2 years that wouldn't have been possible without really that kind of gold star. I remember the investment banker saying, you've got a gold star on you now. Like that's a big deal. And I remember thinking like that made me feel rich more than money, because I was like that, and not in an ego way, and like, this is cool, I'm gonna be able to open doors. And I have since, and it's been really great. But that's what got us here today, man. That's the story.
What's been the most interesting or exciting thing that's come from those relationships?
I would say, honestly, getting to reset my viewpoint on highly wealthy people. And I think I've been around rich people, and I'll make the designation. Rich people drive Lamborghinis, and I've been there too, there's no judgment. I owned a Lamborghini too. And wear loud clothing and buy bottle service and spend money. Wealthy people are under the, at least in my opinion, are under the, not all, but the ones I want to model after are under the spouting whales get harpooned mentality, where it's be humble, be kind, realize that most of your success is not due to you. It's due to circumstances and timing, things that are out of your control, although you had major influence on it. So you feel humble around your successes. They invest very wisely, very smart, very conservatively, and they're interested in legacy and how to leave a legacy and how to leave the planet a better place. And again, I'm not saying every wealthy person is like that.
There's some that act like jackasses.
There are some that
just
act like
people that are rich or not,
yes,
have no money.
Yes,
right?
But I thought everybody acted like a jackass when you had money, and it's really cool just to see, like, man, some of these guys that I'm around that it's like, you're familiar with EO or YPO?
Yep.
There's a group called Tiger 21 that's like an investment group of that. You have to have a certain net worth to be in, and some of these guys in my group are worth $500 million. And this one individual I'm talking about is the best dad I've ever seen in my entire life. Best family guy.
That's cool.
And I'm like, wait, you're worth how? But you can do that. And then he's also like very healthy and in shape. And then he's got the best marriage for 30 something. And I'm like, these guys are good in every category in life. And I'm like, that, and by the way, we were talking about, a certain individual who's had longevity in our space that we both admire very highly. Like, they've had it for decades, this success in all these, and it's like, that's someone I want to model after. Someone who's done it in multiple categories for decades. Like, that's someone I want to learn from. And so I would say, the biggest learning I've had is just really resetting my judgment around people that achieve high wealth and just thinking everyone's a jackass.
They get past that like rich middle ground
Yes.
to like pure real wealth.
100%. Yeah. And I think just viewing money differently as a tool for their families, their legacy, resources, how to help, how to give back, not just from time, but from financial standpoint. And it's and then how to be a better person every single day. And I'm not kidding. If I lined up, like, my group's got 15 people in them. If you lined up all 15, 5 of them, you'd be like, all right, this is someone. 10 of them you would think is just the most average, normal guy you've ever met in your life. You'd never know.
Which is awesome.
Which is
I love
fucking
that.
badass. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. What? So you made good money earlier in the lifestyle business. Did you find there was like a threshold where your life didn't really get better by the more money you made?
Yeah, 100%. I would say for me, it was I think the stat's like 70 grand. I'd say for me, like, I wanted to make $100,000 so bad. And it was like, go. And I remember hitting like a lull. Depression's not the right word, but when I hit it, I was like, okay, like, this is awesome. Like, I had done, like, honestly, dude, I was working 15 hours a week. It was running an agency. I was working remote, which everyone works remote now, but at the time it was like the fucking coolest thing. 2013, it was like,
no one freaking worked.
It was awesome.
You were the
dude.
weird guys.
100%. And dude, I'm a night owl, so I could work till 2 a.m. and then wake up at 10 and no one's busting my chops. And it was like, that was the richest I ever felt, by the way, is when you had freedom of your time, which I think most people would agree if they
don't have that. Well, now you have that. But during that period with your exit, where the most amount of money hitting your bank account, you're probably working.
That's exactly
a lot.
right. It's funny. It's you define wealth and it's time is now the definition of wealth more than money. But for me, it was like that low period after I made 6 figures for the first time was like, and I went through this thought process. I remember like getting all the way through this, like, if I were Oprah, would I be happy? And I was like, no. And I was like, okay, then I got to change the rules. Like, so if I 100,000 or a million or 10 or 100, boom, and then I'm like, no, I would just be chasing my whole life. And I made it a rule for myself that the success equaled growth. So if I was growing every day, I was becoming more and more successful. And it wasn't a scorecard on dollars and cents. And that reignited me to feel really good after call it 100 grand. But dude, at about 100 grand, I paid my rent. I got to do fun extracurriculars. I could go to a concert if I wanted to. I could eat out once in a while. I could be healthy.
Without
like to work
thinking about it as much.
Yeah, without stressing. And it was whatever that dollar amount is, like. And I will say one thing I've always done really well, and like a huge message I'd like to get out to whoever's listening is, I always lived so far below my means.
We talked about this on our first podcast.
Oh, we did? Okay, great. And dude, it's like, the more I look back at that, I'm like, what a fucking genius move, because I had no external pressure to, if I lost a client, I went from 100 grand to 80 grand. Like, obviously I was like, oof, like, come on, and worked my butt off. But I wasn't like abnormally stressed where the next person who walked in the door, no matter how big of a lemon of a client it was, I wasn't like, come on, I'll take any amount of money, please, because I was never.
You came from a good place.
I was never desperate, because dude, my burn was like 20 grand a year and I was making 100, and then that trickled all the way up till today. My burn's so low compared to how much, and it's like, and for me, that's success, is like to know, like, I don't have to work again, it's just like a more abundant mindset and freedom. And I had that at 100 grand. I didn't have that when I exited. I had that then, and it was, so anyway, yeah.
Why do you find that by adding cost to your life at this point, gives you like drive and pressure to push, or not really? Like,
I get that mentality. I understand.
Some people do that. They make these big like financial commitments, like out of pure push, like the car or whatever it is.
Dude, I get that. I understand that completely. I think for me, I like to let me think through that question, because no, I don't, to answer it directly. But But I totally understand, like, maybe that could drive someone. And I think we all get motivated differently. So I don't mean to say this is like a catch-all for everyone, just because I might get motivated by giving and like, okay, how much charitable donations did I make last year? Like, that shit gets me fucking up every day. I'm like, dude, I am sending underprivileged kids to private education, which to me is how, this is my definition of view frame of the world, doesn't mean for me everybody's. That's how you change the world, is you through education, and education at a young age, where people can learn to be self-sufficient and grow. And giving that to people that do not have the financial means to achieve that is like, you can hear it in my voice, you can hear it like that's fucking driving to me. But if that's the Lamborghini that I made fun of earlier for someone else, fuck yeah, dude, go ahead, do it. I love it. The thing that I would shy from is I like creating artificial games or artificial pressure things that really like it's a less downside, high upside. So in that case, it's like I made a commitment, love that. You went out and bought the Lamborghini you can't afford. I don't condone that behavior at all. And even if that does push you, I think you're taking a horrific risk reward that has massive consequences to it. So that I don't agree with. But if it's like, hey, I've set a meeting with the Lamborghini, as this example, Lamborghini rep for January 1st, and I gave him $1,000 down payment, or I gave it to him and I just said, hey, this is my commitment to buying it. Fuck yeah, dude, that's awesome. I love that. But yeah, don't go sign on a Lamborghini you can't afford just to, because you're like, this will push me. Like that's bullshit.
What if
dude.
it doesn't?
What
if the campaign falls apart?
And to be honest, right? I can make the argument like, okay, so then you got the reward, but it's like you and I work out like crazy. Like, what is that? Like, hey, I'm gonna lose 10 pounds, but I'm gonna eat a bunch of cake today because it's gonna make me want to lose 10 pounds faster. You're like, that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? So that's I think there's a lot of holes in that strategy too. But I do love the idea of setting up things to push yourself. Whether for me, again, too, it could be like how much I want to donate, or dude, like I'll play like, you ever watch the Michael Jordan documentary where he'd like be like, that guy's talking shit, and they're like, no, he's not. And you're like, yes, he is. I know that motherfucker is. Like, I'll play mental games with myself like that too, like that drive me. Like I like that stuff. I'm a fan of that stuff.
It's more like saving face or like other things that actually internally motivate you, not just taking on like a debt.
For sure, yeah. And
some people it can be the thing, but I don't know. Like,
bullshitting yourself that this is gonna push me. Like, no, dude, no. Buying a fucking bakery and eating a cake every day is not gonna push you to lose 10 pounds. Like, how silly is it? If I put that analogy in terms of losing weight, makes no sense. But you think buying a Lamborghini is gonna push you to make more money? Striving for one, setting the date for love. But I get that mentality too. And listen, you have to remember too, there's a great book called Psychology of Money. And it talks about, we hear the success stories. So you hear the guy that said, I couldn't afford the $10 million home in Santa Monica, and I fucking put the down payment on, and I figured it out, and I made it happen. You hear the guy that goes, I put 100% of my money in Bitcoin and it 100x. Yeah. You don't hear the stories of the other 99. And I think that's really important for people, because there is nobody out there waving their hand being like, I put all my money in Bitcoin and lost it all. I bought the house and it got foreclosed on. Like, no, people aren't vulnerable enough often to tell those stories, maybe until after they've had success. But that's important too, is we get the highlight reel of interviews, we get the highlight reel of Instagram, TikTok, we get everyone's highlight reel. We don't actually understand or hear what's happening like under the hood, which is really important lesson, especially for a bunch of young people that are coming up in this space. Like, I've seen people, I've mentored people, and I know their finances, and I'm seeing what they're driving in, flying in, and this, and I'm like, you can't afford to be doing that, dude. You're living way outside of your means. But from the outside, you're like, this guy's fucking crushing it. Yeah. And you're like, and the book talks about a nice car, a nice house. All that says is you have the ability to buy. You have the credit worthiness to buy that, which does say something. Doesn't mean you can afford it. If you make $100,000, you can get finance for a Lamborghini.
But should you? Should
you be spending $3,000 a month on a Lamborghini? Probably not. You know what I mean? So, and then you look at your rent and your extracurriculars and this, and you're like, well, your credit card debt's now at $60,000, and you're like, okay, wait, you took out a small business loan, or you borrowed money from your mom in order to get the business, and you're like, okay, you see this guy driving a Lamborghini, and you're like, oh, he's very wealthy and he's very rich. But all we really know by that is that he has the ability to buy it. Doesn't mean he can actually afford
it. Especially in the U.S.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. Totally
Yeah,
agree.
I made these mistakes on a smaller scale when in my first business in my 20s. I had a mentor that like was really good at coaching like high ticket sales. So
Yeah.
we started seeing more cash come into our business, but it was just cash flow. It wasn't actually like realized profits.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, if you want to push yourself, just go like buy a car. So I was like, all right. So I went and bought a Range Rover.
Yeah.
And I was making like on a good month like 10K profit
Yeah.
a month. It's not a freaking good idea when I'm already spending like $2,000 a month on rent.
Sure.
I just committed like $1,500 with car payment and insurance.
For sure.
And this is like post-tax
Yeah,
income,
yeah, of
right?
course.
So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like I just gave up 20-some% of my take home
100%, dude. Yes.
just because I was told that was a good idea.
That's exactly
And
right.
it was the most stressful shit on the bad months, man. Like
For sure.
I hated that. Like I loved getting in it, but I fucking hated it. And I sold it eventually. And
Yeah.
I downgraded to like a 19. This is not 20 years ago. This is maybe 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I downgraded to a 1997 from his friend actually.
Yeah.
That like would flip cars. A 1997 like Honda Accord that
Yeah.
like made a noise when you drove it.
Yeah, dude.
And I felt so good.
You know
it
what's-
sounds so dumb.
No,
but-
it's not. Dude, I'll say two things. One is I had a friend who worked for Quicken Loans. And right when he started doing stuff, like, go out and buy the Mercedes. Yeah, because then you're trapped, fucker. Because then you need to come up with $6,000 a month and you're going to work 80 hours to make it happen. So it's actually a really fucked up like imprisonment strategy on a lot of ways. And then on the other side, dude, I told you I had a very nice Lamborghini, all this stuff. Dude, I drive a Model Y Tesla. My wife and I share. It's about $35,000.
Yeah.
I'm fucking cheesing ear to ear. She hit a pole the other day. I go, that's why we got it, babe. Give me a kiss. I'm so much fucking happier in this fucking car than I was in almost a $400,000 car that I was stressing putting miles on. What if I scratch it? What's the resale value at today? Dude, it's not even fucking close that I'm happier in a Model Y fucking $35,000 car that I share with my wife. I swear on everything holy. May God strike me dead. I'm so much happier in that car. I swear.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What are you excited to do since you've been blessed with like financial success at a very high level?
Yeah.
I don't know many guys in this industry that have done as well as you've done, especially the affiliates.
Very blessed.
Right?
Thank you.
Because they tend to be more reckless with their money.
Sure.
What's the most exciting thing you've been able to do with that?
Yeah.
With that resource?
Oh, dude, I'll say 100% is like I said, like I measure myself on like how much I'm giving every single year. And dude, I've gotten the opportunity to give millions of dollars to, like I said, that's my passion is education. And
Tell me more about that. Like, are they?
yeah, it's basically people in Arizona that are from low income families that, for me, I've got a strong faith, so that are faith based and could not otherwise afford to go to a private Catholic education. And what I'm able to do is through a strong vetting process is find these 8th graders, 7th graders, 8th graders coming into high school that meet certain criteria that I think can be given the right opportunity, can excel and make a difference in the world. And so that's what I've done, and it's been an amazing foundation, an amazing cause to watch grow and see. And now I've been doing it for 4 or 5 years, and I get to see some of these kids in college. And one of the students now I'm paying for his Grand Canyon University and he's building out programs with all the high schools for entrepreneurship. And it's just really fun just to watch, like, treating my charitable donations as a business and seeing, am I investing in the right talent and the right people? Am I making the right investments? And what's the ROI? And the ROI is not money back in my pocket. The ROI is like, are they doing great things in the world? Is someone going on to be a doctor? Is someone running an entrepreneurship program at the largest Christian university in the world, and then, making feeder programs into local high schools? Like, that's badass to me. I love seeing that shit. And so that's been the most fun thing for me to do, and that's highly motivating for me when it comes to like getting back to work or income or things like that. Is it's like I've got my investment income, which is a business in itself, and then getting back into marketing and affiliate space and things like that. That's what's driving me and pushing me. And that's been highly motivating for me, for sure.
So you're back in the game. I think we met for the first time about a year ago here at LeadsCon, maybe in the Circle Bar.
Sure, yeah.
What's it like after having, not like a hiatus, but time away from the affiliate space and coming back? Like, what's changed for you? What are you focused on now?
Yeah.
What are you excited about?
I think the biggest difference is my risk tolerance has dropped significantly, and
That's interesting.
I've had a philosophical conversation with a lot of people that I trust, including you and I think, as far as like, is this a space of risk tolerance? Like with Facebook ad transparency tool, I can see every ad you're running. I can see your landing page. I can fill out forms. I can talk to your buyers. I know everything. So where are you competing? And are you competing on how aggressive and how much you're blurring the lines on your ads? Most people are. Or are you competing on the relationship that you have with the ultimate end buyer that's got better payment terms, whether it's more money or better, you're talking to better reps on the phone, things like that. That I feel really good as a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
So it's forced me to be a better marketer, a better entrepreneur, because this is not an option for me to get more aggressive on the ads in an incompliant facet. Yeah, it's forced me to be a much stronger marketer. It's forced me to be a much stronger entrepreneur, and
It's like an operator, not even a marketer, right? Like,
yeah, that's exactly
you
right.
can only get the lead so cheap or the call so low in cost, even with great creatives.
Yeah,
The
for sure.
leverage is totally on the relationship side.
Yeah, 100. And I've always preached that that's where it is, and I do believe that 1,000%. But it's forced me to. I think there's been more people come in the space the last few years. I think it used to be 2 years ago it was cool to be a drop shipper and an e-com guy. I think it's cool to be a lead gen guy now, which is great. And I think a lot of young people in the space see someone else running an angle and they're not at fault. They don't know, and they just run it. And it's some of these spaces are highly uncompliant. I think you're starting to see lawsuits come in and things like that on people.
ACA.
Yeah, people running literal fraud traffic, and there's a ton of people out there that don't even know they're running fraud traffic, and they are because, and again, no fault to their own. And it's very tough to compete in the auction, right? If you're saying, hey, call for Medicare. You're going to offer someone $1,000. I offer them $50. You know, it's like you're going to win that auction probably.
Or every time.
But I do think a couple things are exciting in the space. I think one is, I think buyers and partners are going to in the next 12 to 24 months get a lot smarter to the LTV, because in that example, and I can't operate in any insurances, I still have a non-compete for a year or so, but we'll use that as an example. In that example, that person's going to sign up, but when they actually enroll and they actually realize they're not getting $1,000, they're only getting $50, eventually they're going to get pissed at the LTV there, that they bought that
Client's
lead.
worth nothing.
Client's worth nothing. They thought it was worth something, and they're eventually going to get fed up with that. And a lot of these products that buy on a LTV, almost like a subscription model, their underwriting's inaccurate. Their underwriting's thinking that you're going to stay on as a customer for a year and you're only going to stay on for 2 months. Again, Medicare is not that. There's a switching period. That's a terrible example, but whatever. Let's use this example as an idea, where I think they're going to eventually come back around, hopefully, knocking on wood, this is my thesis, that the $50 guys' LTVs are going to be longer. The problem is I either need to burn cash and lose money for 18 to 24 months, or I need to wake up for them to figure that out, or I need to find a space and partners that are aware of that and getting ahead of that and are smart enough, intelligent enough to know that that is real and happening. And that's ultimately where I'm shifting my focus, putting my focus is to spaces that are mature enough to know, like, hey, that in that example, like, that guy's going to be worth nothing. It's going to appear on paper today he's worth something, and I got him really cheap, and I'm going to high five in the office.
Cheap conversion, cheap cost per acquison for the sale.
But the math doesn't work.
Yeah.
Versus expensive acquisition, the math works, and it's like that's ultimate. And then just like getting down to, like, I'm starting to look at, like, the Facebook as an example, as almost like Google search, right? Someone goes to Google search something, they open up 5 tabs and they compare. So, like, I'll run ads with the similar hook that is compliant, and it'll be like, get $1,000, Medicare. And again, I'm not running Medicare, but as an example, get $1,000 Medicare. If you're hearing this is a scam. Like, I'm starting to compete and be like, hey, that's wrong, and educate it back. So I still get the hook, stop the scroll on the same hook as you, but then I
reverse angle.
Yeah, then I say, hey, if you've seen that, and I'm sure you've seen it everywhere, that's a total blatant lie. And I urge you to call in and actually find out how much you get, save my number, and then call me back, as an example. And I think starting to see, like, I still get to leverage your hook on that in this example. You're not doing this.
Because awareness, and the algorithm's going to feed you both those ads.
Yeah, exactly. So So to answer your question, that the risk tolerance element has been more difficult to compete with, but also it's just, again, I'm finding and I found partners that are really, really aware of that. And then when you have a conversation like that with them, you get preferential treatment. I get paid more than anybody else. I get better payment terms. I'm talking to the CEO directly about things. And that to me is where I'm like, okay, I've got a massive moat here. Just like I've been preaching for years and years, like everybody's focused on how cheap can I get the lead. I'm so focused on how can I make my buyer money long term. And then I end up getting paid so much more. And then you can't compete. If I get paid $300 a lead, you get paid $200 a lead. You can't compete with me.
Russell Brunson says,
Yeah,
right? Or
exactly.
Dan Kennedy, whoever can afford to spend the most to get the customer wins.
Exactly. And the only way you're able to do that is to justifiably make more money for your end buyer. And 99 out of 100 people have not even thought about that. Like literally, like what's my payout? $50. Okay, I need to get it under 50. And then what happens is they drive it for 40 and they say, I made $10. And the buyer
Keeps going, it's a race to the bottom.
Exactly. Yeah. And the whole space is a race to the bottom. And there's so few people taking themselves out of that space. The challenge is you are competing in the auction with a race to the bottom. So it is definitely an inherent challenge within the space. So then you start looking at blue oceans. You start looking for places that people maybe aren't advertising in or going to or spending time in. And or again, you have a really solid moat with the actual buyer relationship, which I believe is always the only thing. I honestly, my belief is in the next 12 to 18 months, if I was a media buyer, I'd be scared shitless. I think your job, not you, sorry, a media buyer's job gets replaced by AI very, very, very fucking quickly.
Well, we already do broad targeting. It's all creative at this point. Anyway.
Exactly. And I can see you're creative. There's first off, already, like, I'm like, don't get me wrong, this is no disrespect to a media buyer. Like, what are you really doing? You're scraping someone else's ad, trying to make it a tiny bit better. You got to figure out the targeting a bit, but like, it's not, like, you're not, like, the buyer relationship has always been, will always be 90% of it, in my opinion. And then 9% of it's the strategy around it, or the angles, and then the 1% is the actual, like,
button clicking.
Click, exactly. And that button clicking will go away.
Yeah.
Like very quickly. And we're already seeing it on calls, you and I, where there's AI actually like screening a call or something like that before a transfer. So you're like, oh wow, you're already seeing call. Like, makes you wonder how quickly are they going to be able to enroll someone where you and I are going to be able to log into AIvoice.com. I don't even know if that's a company. AIvoice.com, plug it into our Ringba, and then route it to AIvoice.com. And you're like, oh, so then I really just need someone buying the paper that, and it's like these two versions, if you're not so then now I'll unscare someone. So where should you be focusing on? I think you need to be unbelievable copywriter. I think you need to be an unbelievable strategist. I think you need to understand everything that happens in the consumer's mindset for whatever product you're marketing before the click, after the enrollment. I think understanding that life journey is exponentially crucial. And then working on building and nurturing strategic relationships, whether it's with you and I can bounce ideas off each other and be very open. Like, hey dude, I ran this and I lost this, or I'm running this and I'm making money on it, or I just had this challenge. So you do it within your peers/competitors, and you can actually, dude, that's like, even what, I know I'm rambling, but like, you asked me my success, like, dude, I've had our peers that are so helpful to me. And it's only because I hope they feel the same way. I had tremendous value. So when I call and I say, hey, I got a question for you, they're like, dude, whatever you need, I got it for you. So it's adding value to others, where so many people don't do that in this space. They take.
Yep.
We've all had that, where you've got like the leech of like, give me this, and there's so little value given.
And it's obvious too. It's not, people don't even try to hide it
sometimes. 100%. And like, I always,
it's leeching off you. Yeah.
I like to believe I always operate from like, how can I give as much value as possible? And then the few times I need to make hey, can you help me? Dude, I've found like my friends are just like, they run to it. And that right there is the difference in my success, being able to exit, being able to get in the spaces I've been in. All these things is from one or two conversations from someone who I've become friends with over the years. And I like to think I've helped exponentially. And the few times I've been like, hey, my debt business is in half. What space do you think I should go in? People being like, well, I've been in Medicare for a year and I'm doing really well. Thank you so much, man. You didn't have to say that. Thank you for saying that. But it's because hopefully I added value the last few years. Like, that's what made the difference in where I'm at. It's just that. So anyway,
pays dividends,
huge ramble.
man, in this space.
Yeah. Huge ramble. Overall, cliff notes are focusing on, in my opinion, being a good sales copywriter, understanding the psychology of the consumer in whatever space you're in. I think media buying goes away with AI very, very quickly. I think even call centers start to dissipate, or at least a higher and higher percentage of the call centers go away. And then focusing on the strategic relationship with whoever the ultimate end buyer is everything. And the last thing is just a giving mentality, not giving to take, and not not just being a leech and taking. It's how can you add value, and I think that's the ultimate funniest life hack is just the more value you add, the more you do for others, the more you get back, and it's the funniest thing that just comes full circle in my opinion. So,
what's the biggest piece of advice you have for existing media buyers and then someone new coming into the space?
Yeah, I'd say existing media buyers again too is realizing like, oh shit, like I the way things are moving, dude. I always had this like conversation that I wish I was around in the .com bubble. I wish I was around in like the 99s, the 2000s. I was born, but I was like 6, 7 years old. Like I wish I was like in business. I'm going to be living in that in AI. I am right now. And I think it's like a trigger word people hear on podcasts and AI. Dude, I had a 100-page subscription doc for a real estate deal I was doing. I used to pay $20,000 to an attorney. I put it in ChatGPT.
Summarize it.
I said, hey, I'm the investor here. Can you tell me what I should be concerned about, how these docs differ from a normal real estate doc, and can you tell me where I should push back on? 30 seconds, it spits back out.
It's crazy, man.
I send it to the sponsor of the deal. Hey, I need these. I need the docs updated to this. He goes, okay, no one else asked for those, but all right, we'll make an exception for you. I get a side letter signed that, hey, now you can't raise your management fees or your property. I'm getting into the weeds here, but you get my idea. And then I asked ChatGPT, I said, how much did you save me there? He goes, well, average paralegal costs, I forget what it was like $18,000. I was like, okay, thank you. Hello. You don't think that's going to happen with media buying, with clicking buttons right now? If you see the quick, easy money is, in my opinion, is gone or going away very quickly if you're not adapting. And that goes for everyone, including myself. You have to always be adapting. So for me, as a current media buyer that's running a good business, I would be heavily looking at, again, how to sharpen my life skills. I think if you invest back in yourself, again, I'm sounding like a broken record, but become a better salesperson, sales copywriter, understanding psychology, understanding how to recruit and retain talent, understand how to nurture and grow the relationships you already have with your peers, with your buyers, or your partners in the space as well right now. That's where I'd be shifting such a disproportionate amount of my time. And hello, I've been saying this for almost 10 years. This is what people should be doing, because that's the only thing that wins. The trinkets, TikTok's up and then down, and then Facebook's up and then et cetera. It's the same shit. But if you're focused on those things, I don't care if you're on Rumble, if you're on I don't care what, it could be on the side of a street flipping a sign. If I understand psychology, I have a great relationship with my partners, I have a great relationship with my peers, I'm going to be successful likely while everybody else weeds out. So those are things I'd be focusing on as a current media buyer. As a new media buyer in the space, I think the entry point is easier than ever. Again, transparency tools, come to these conferences, and there's now 1 million people in lead gen. You and I were in it when there was 5, and it's like, what do you do? I'm this, I'm that. Okay. So you can kind of understand where people are playing the spaces. You can see everyone's ads, you see everyone's landing page. If you call in or fill out a form, you can see everyone's buyers. So to me, someone new in the space is exactly, again, I sound like a broken record from earlier, but it's focused on the longevity of, I'm not trying to make $20 to go buy a steak dinner later tonight. I'm trying to build a long-term partnership with this end buyer. I'm trying to make them handsomely rich, and in the process, I will get rich. Versus, how do I make myself rich day one? And a lot of that is like, man, it could be losing money. It could be running ads that are focused differently than everybody else in the space. It could be they tell you, hey, you need to make an adjustment here. Okay, here I'm making the adjustment. But I think after long enough of having that conversations around like, hey, I'm here to be a long-term partner, you just play. I saw it in Medicare, dude. I was charging $120 a phone call. Nobody else was doing that. And it was only because, one, I had focused on it from the beginning to mature the algorithms to go get high quality people for Medicare. I had strategic conversations over here for years to get to that level. Like, where everybody else was getting paid $50, $60. Today, they might be getting paid $20 a call.
And it became a race to the bottom.
Race to the bottom for them.
Regulation came in.
Exactly. Race to the bottom for them while I was getting paid $120. And now, mind you, I was spending $100 to attract that call. They were spending $40 to drive a $50 call. So we were making semi-similar margin, but they wanted my shit more than anybody because it was higher quality. And
you obviously won that game.
Sure. And I think anybody who focuses on that long term, there's nothing special I did other than focused on, how do I understand their business problems? How do I solve it? Dude, I'll tell you, I saw the best entrepreneur the other day. My wife and I were traveling, and we're from Arizona. It never rains. So we're not thinking it could rain anywhere we're at. So we walk outside, and it's raining, and we're in the rain, and we're like, oh, fuck, we're in the rain. And Some guy comes up with an umbrella. Here, goes 10 euro. I only got 20, take it. That's the best entrepreneur I've seen in a long time. Why? You're like, he sold a $10 umbrella because he met me with a problem with a solution at the moment I needed it. Like that's the best sign of it. That's the best entrepreneur I've seen in a long time. And when you think about it, that's all I'm preaching right here is, hey, end buyer A, what are your business problems? I want to understand your problems. No one has that fucking conversation. They go, what's your payout? What are your business problems? Well, I'm having this. I have call center retention issues. Oh, you do? Oh, well, why? There's dead times in my call center at 5 p.m. Oh, what if I just ran a campaign for you at 5 p.m.? We'll just break even. I'll tell you how much I spend, and it'll fill your 5 p.m. Oh, that would help me a lot. That would help me. Who the fuck's having that conversation? No one, unless they're asking what the fuck their problems are. And then guess who's the top partner? Guess who the CEO is talking to? Guess who? The guy who just solved his retention issue.
Yep.
Not the guy that drove him $30 leads instead of $40 leads, down to 20, down to 10, down to 3. This dies. This goes away. This lasts forever in any business, any place, because you're actually understanding the problem. You're actually meeting them with a solution at the time. And you're getting creative to build things and around them and build solutions for them. And that to me is entrepreneurship. That is business. That is my advice to someone new in the space, someone currently in the space, is understand the real problems. Real problems. Have the conversations. And then build solutions around those problems for your end partners. And then, dude, you're untouchable. You're the hot girl in the room. You're playing a different game than everybody else is playing. And 99% of people will hear this and not even take action on it. And 1 out of 100 will. And I'm so blessed I get messages. They're like, dude, I heard you speak 4 years ago on this. And dude, I just had my first $1 million a year. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. And I'm like, what'd you do? Nothing special, dude. I'm running the same ads as everybody else to the same lander, to the same buyer. But I just, I meet them in person like we were talking about on the way up here and got a good relationship with them. I'm like, great. You do the teeniest tiny thing differently than everybody else and you reap all the benefits. You get all the rewards. It's so beautiful. Man. Yeah.
Love it, bro. Dude, any last words of advice or anything else you'd like to share?
You know what? Let's see, what is a good last piece of advice? I would say, one of my mentors is a guy named Jerry Colangelo, who owned the Phoenix Suns, the Arizona Diamondbacks, and he was the GM for USA Basketball. He's a multi-billionaire, and he's just a fucking stud of a human. And he orders his priorities this way, and he said he always has, right? And it's easy to see someone with success now. You're like, of course you do now. You order it that way. He orders it, and you don't have to be. This isn't a faith preach, but he goes, number 1 is faith, which could be whatever. Number 2 is health. Number 3 is family. Number 4 is business. And he goes, and I've always prioritized that way. And I think so many people have it not even flipped. It's like business.
At all costs.
Health, relationship, and then for me, faith, whatever. You insert whatever, being a generous person or a good person if you're not a faith person, spiritual, whatever that is. And spirituality, by the way, could be taking an hour out of your day to think or to go walk or to read or to journal or something. That's the same bucket for me. And I think having those that level of priorities, and I'm certainly far from perfect. And I've certainly had spurts in my life where I've done exactly what I just said, which is why I feel so comfortable passing judgment on it, because I'm done it myself. Yep. I'm guilty of my own comment here. But the times in my life where I've seen prioritizing those things and doing right by people and abundant, I've felt the richest I've ever felt in my entire life. And the last thing I'll say is another mentor of mine said, he goes, Anthony, I'm the richest guy in the room. And I said, no, you're like in my head, I know he's not. He's actually one of the least rich guys in the room and still successful. But I'm like, what do you mean, Dave? I'm like, dude, what do you mean? Because we both knew. Yeah. And he goes, I lay my head on the pillow better than anyone else in this room every night. He goes, I'm the richest guy in the room. And I sat there and I said, you are the richest guy in the room. And I remember, and that to me is wealth. That is freedom to be able to know you do right by people. You are a holistic human and person. Not just trying to maximize the dollars, because it leads to an empty road. It's very empty. It really is. And I've done it, and I've been there, and I've lost friendships, and I've lost things. And it's not the right direction in life, in my opinion. So however that lands with someone, just challenge, just maybe spend a little more time with your family, spend a little bit more time on your health, if your faith, a little bit more time on your faith or time, and ask yourself that question, like, is this going to help me sleep good tonight or not? And that's been like such a good North Star for me in my day-to-day, is like, is this going to help me sleep good tonight, or is this going to keep me up at night because I don't feel like I did right by someone, the right person? And like making that the measure of wealth, I think is so silly. you get everything else that everybody else is focused on. You get the dollars in the bank account by being focused on just being a good human. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's what
Love it, man. Bro, thank you so much.
Of course, brother. Of course,
Appreciate
enjoyed
you.
it, dude. Thanks for making time.
Killed
Love it, brother.
Oh, how can people learn more about you, connect with you?
Dude, just Anthony Sarandria, my website or Instagram, and dude, I just like I I mentioned it earlier, and it wasn't to be like an ego pump, just like, dude, I love just helping people. Like if anyone's got a question, like might not be within 24 hours, but like I respond to every single question I get, no matter how low, high, left, right, no matter where it is. Like I really pride myself in that comment, and so any way I can help or like, reach out, shoot me a message, costs nothing. I'm happy to help. I've had so many people in my life do that for me and pay it forward for me that it's actually one of the richest parts of my day in my life at this point is to be able to help someone else get to wherever they're trying to go. So yeah, dude, just my AnthonySurrendere.com or my Instagram. Just search my name. So
Appreciate it.
yeah, of course, brother.
Until next time.